All right, getting you guys kind of set up in here in the fender well. Bringing you all along for the ride as I'm putting the fender well back into Stormy after her little tango with a piece of what can only be described as structural steel. And you know, it's kind of funny messing around with this Dodge Ram. Sorry. By the way, I'm going to be kind of in and out of frame, kind of in weird angles because I'm in the process of literally repairing this thing as I'm talking to you guys. So it's kind of like you hanging out with me, working on the truck. And anyway, so I had a few questions, comments really, that were really more along the lines of, well, why did you get the Dodge, or why did you get the Ram, you know, that whole deal. And it's kind of funny really because, you know, as you guys know, I mean, I really did have my checkbook in my hand walking into that Ford dealership. I thought for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that I was going to be either walking out of that dealership with either a, you know, something off of that lot. I'd found one, it was a four-wheel drive actually, F-150, 331 geared truck. I wasn't really looking for a four-wheel drive, but man, that truck was pretty nice. That's actually the truck that almost convinced me that I was wrong about how that F-150 rode. So that kind of brings me back to answer the question. So why did I pick the Ram over the Ford and not even consider the Chevrolet? And I know I touched on this on a previous video, but sometimes these are just kind of fun to, you know, talk about again, because, you know, some of these reasons they're all really subjective. They all started out though as objective, like what's the 0 to 60 time if you're into performance, right? And you know, what are the performance parameters? How well can they handle a load and all of that kind of good stuff. Well, the thing is it came down to the fact that number one, the Ram just rode so much better. It was kind of an odd thing where coming from a DS Ram, which I guess you would call the classic now, or they do call the classic now. Hang on. Coming from that place, hang on, I gotta moving some sheet metal around here. Coming from that place, it was kind of an easy fit for the Ram. In that respect, I would argue, just because the Ram was, the DT Ram is so close to the DS in a lot of ways, but it's like just a far more refined version of the DS. So that's one of the reasons why I went with the Ram. But the ride was probably number one. Two, it just felt better to drive in general. What I mean by that is the Ford, although fast, I will give it that. You cannot take away anything about that Ford when it comes to performance. I think the only vehicle that actually steps on it at all would be the 6.2, the GM 6.2. But again, we can't really, by the way, I'm cleaning some of the stuff off of the bottom. That's why I got this stuff out. Because after we have installed that fender liner, now we got to install this little splash guard thing. But anyway, getting back to it, it was kind of funny that the Ford was fast, but it always felt like it was complaining about being asked to go fast. Like it just wanted to be a truck. It didn't want to go 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds or 5.8 seconds. It just wanted to, it seemed like it just wanted to do truck stuff, and it was almost like it was being put out, for lack of a better way of putting it. It just was real buzzy, and it didn't feel as torquey as the 5.7. And keep in mind, this is with a 5 liter with 331 gears versus the Ram with 321 gears. So that was one of the main reasons why. But it just felt almost like it was forced. More so than the Dodge did, or the Ram. Sorry, force of habit. Hang on a second, guys. I gotta pop these clips in. It's kind of funny. This truck seems to be held together by plastic pop rivets and all of that. Hang on just a second. Sorry about that, guys. Had to maneuver a little bit more metal around to get this thing to line up the where it needed to be to put that little guard on. It has a whole bunch of little pop clips in it, and when that piece of steel took out this part of the truck, it kind of bent this whole thing up. And so part of my, is it loud with all the road noise? Anyway, part of the cure for my boredom sitting on the side of the road waiting on a tow truck to show up was me trying to bend some of this metal back in place, and got most of it pretty well right where I wanted it. I just got to get this little piece of trim buttoned up here so it's nice and tight. There we go. Oh, not too shabby. Bring you guys into this. Now we've got the inner fender liner and this little piece here. A little bit of a gap, but I can kind of work with that. I'll be able to massage some of that back in the back, but for the most part, let's see if I can't get you a little bit wider view of it. There we go. Probably have to move a little bit more metal around, just a tad, but overall can't really tell the difference. Actually, coming over to this side of the truck, the side that was not affected, and it's got some gaps too. I think we'll just leave it alone. All right, where was I? Oh yeah, so in terms of performance and everything else, partial throttle, the Ram actually felt, or feels to me, a little bit more, again, it's, I guess, torquier, a little bit more eager underfoot in those areas that are below, say, 5,000 RPM. The Ford was just real high strung, and I mean, that's great for a car, like if you wanted to like build a hot rod out of it, but I just wanted my truck to do truck stuff. And to be frank with you guys, between the tune that I put on this thing, and keep in mind it's kind of a work in progress, but it's coming along pretty good. Truck seems to be running nice, 0 to 60, and well, the best so far was what, 5.7 or something like that? Anyway, DA was pretty low. She's knocking down 6.1, 6.0s as long as she hooks, because remember, it's a two-wheel drive. But as long as this thing hooks up, she's in the low 6s, low 14-second range in terms of quarter mile time. That's kind of tough to argue as far as if it's slow. Like, what's the number that you're looking for to say something is slow? Now, I don't know what that number is, but I can tell you that the Chevrolet has no problem finding its way into that number. And that's the reason why I didn't buy the Chevy. I don't really want to talk too much about the Chevrolet in this, just because the dealership experience was so bad, like subpar bad. It wasn't a situation like I had with Ford where they just wouldn't work with me, which is another reason why I didn't get the Ford pricing. Ford was proud of their trucks. They didn't want to do anything with pricing, and I got about $7 grand knocked off the cost of this truck. So between money that I was given and or discounts rather that I was given, and then stuff that was thrown in as an incentive, worked out really well. Plus the interest rate was lower on this truck, being 2.9. So I mean, overall it was less expensive. It after I've played with the tune a little bit, runs great. Again, runs a pretty sick number, provided it doesn't turn the back tires into tire smoke. And I guess at the end of the day, it was the dealer experience that really kind of cinched it for me. Let me get out of this road noise thing. I'll finish this up inside. All right, I'm back. Sorry it was so loud out there, but hey, thanks for hanging out with me while I fix the truck. So the dealership experience. So yeah, Ford didn't want to play at all with pricing whatsoever. And I don't know, going through their credit was going to be a significantly higher interest rate. So in that respect, it was kind of a no-brainer for the Ram. I mean, Ram just kept looking better and better as a deal just in general. And again, I have the experience with the DS, but I also have the experience with a high mileage DS and the knowledge and the understanding of a fleet of over 20 of those DSs with significantly high mileage. We're talking 200, 250, 300,000 miles. See what I mean? Lots of durability, lots of longevity. If you take care of them, they seem to last, these Rams. But getting back to that dealership experience. So, you know, we're putting this truck back together, and it's one of those things where the dealership that I'm working through, which is Bayshore, Dodge, and Jeep, and everything else under the sun for Stellantis, I guess. Well, no, it's just Dodge and Jeep. Anyway, Bayshore, Dodge, and Ram, and Jeep, has done a great job taking care of me, making sure that if there's anything that I needed, they got it for me as fast as possible, basically treated me like royalty through that service department. And despite the gripes that I have, Bayshore Dodge made sure that I was taken care of. Any inconvenience or any problem that I may have had along the way have been addressed and immediately rectified in one way, shape, or form. I don't get the sense that the Ford dealer would have been as quick to respond or would have been as generous with their efforts as Bayshore Dodge was. So big props to Mr. Turner and the rest of his staff in that service department. I do have to say this. It was because of the dealer experience that I didn't go with Ford in the final analysis. The Ford had some big ups over the Ram in terms of performance and probably in terms of maybe a fuel economy. We're talking a mile per gallon better. I'm not really sure if that would make or break the deal, but you know, you got to at least give credit where it's due. The Ram, for me though, the familiarity and all the rest that I was talking about earlier, coupled with the fact that I just liked the way that the thing drove and then secondarily liked the way that it rode, helped to make the difference. But the dealer confidence that I had with the Ford was zero. And I mean zero. I don't know that it could have been less, to be honest with you guys. Whereas Bayshore was taking care of me all the way across the board. They went looking for rebates and discounts. Anywhere they could find one, they went looking for one. They may have made up a couple along the way, where Ford didn't want to play ball, telling me, well, if you order it, we'll give you $1,000 off. And here Bayshore was trying to throw $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 at me just to get this truck off of their lot. Pretty strange. And, you know, when the Ford dealership tells you that they're doing you a favor by charging you a sticker, you start to compare the lines and somebody's not telling you the truth, right? At least in terms of what they could do for you. Well, I know what one dealer did for me, and that's why I went with the Dodge. So dealer confidence is paying big time dividends at this point. And again, I know that I don't know for a fact, but man, I kind of know for a fact that the Ford dealership would not have treated me as well as that Dodge dealership did. And so that's why I went with the Dodge. And again, it paid off for me. So anyway, kind of rambling on here, getting a little bit off topic. Hope you guys had fun hanging out. We'll catch you guys on the next one. That's a wrap. Adios.